Hello and welcome to the Blossoming Unity podcast. We are Dennis and Nicole, and we're here to introduce you into the conversation about different spiritual perceptions, techniques, and methodologies in order for you to have inspiration for your day-to-day life. Hello and welcome, everyone.
Hello, everyone. Good day, good morning, good evening, good wherever you are. I feel like sometimes we're radio hosts. I know we're not. It's just a podcast, but
Hello and welcome to the Blossoming Unity podcast.
Yeah.
With your late night hosts, Dennis and Nicole.
That's more like, and then there's wrestlers coming out somewhere.
All right. Dun, 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 dun.
Amazing. Okay, if you think we got crazy, we did not. It just sounds like it. We're just having fun. So, how is everyone? How are you, Dennis?
Vibrant.
Yeah, I know.
Feel good. Life's very great. I went into some really deep meditations. I'm really about making the subconscious conscious, the unconscious conscious. I don't want habits. Though if for anyone that's in the regular day-to-day life, habits are beautiful. If you're not looking to, completely, transform in that way, habits are important. For me, I recognize habits are just unconscious actions that are just automatically happening, and I just want to consciously choose everything that I do and everything in my process within this life. But I was in meditation, and I had fallen into the meditative state, and these images just started flashing. And whenever I go into meditation, I just sit there and watch. I don't, identify with any image. I don't have any emotional attachment to whatever's going on. And I before, and they would just flash, and they would become even more intense as they were trying to get an emotional reaction out of me. Just flash and flash and flash and flash and flash and flash. And I'm just sitting there, and I'm just like totally nonchalant, just completely enjoying this being. And I'm seeing it from a space now where the spaciousness is no longer entertaining the emotional triggering and the mental diarrhea that's being projected there. So I'm just sitting there and I'm noticing, I'm like, oh, the mind can just go on for days. It's just a breeze. Say whatever you want and do whatever you want. And of course, it wants to remind you of who you are and who it believes you to be. And it's, you're Dennis, you're this, you're 27, it's your birthday, it's this. And I'm just sitting there just watching like, no, that's not me. And I'm not saying that verbally. I recognize it, because when you touch that spaciousness, the spaciousness really doesn't hold any real memory. It's beyond the memory. There's an infinite memory, and then there's this spaciousness that just doesn't have any memory at all. It's just watches and watches and watches. And I was sitting there, and I'm just watching the whole process of life just happen within. And I noticed my body would do some start tingling in certain positions within the fingertips, and then my mudra would just automatically happen. And I was just watching the whole process, and I'm just sitting back like I'm in like in a beach chair, and I'm just like sitting there with a Corona, just watching the breeze, watching the waves of the emotions, watching the waves of the thoughts. And it was such a beautiful, very liberating experience. And I can say without a doubt that it's possible for any human being to be able to experience that.
Yeah.
Every human being.
It's a question of when and where, but yeah.
It happens too. Yeah. What I noticed when you go into meditation, especially when you're first starting out, you're like, okay, I want to control my thoughts. I want to be better at this. I want to be a better thinker. I want to be more organized. I want to do this. I want to be this. Meditation, I want you to help me with this. So when you go in from that approach, you're already almost giving yourself a crutch. So when you go into it without any expectation, and when I say no expectation, I mean whatever arises, and I'm not in it for the end game. I'm in it just for being. I'm in it just to experience and see. I just want to know. And when that knowing is no longer, I want to know what's going on out there, but I want to know what's going on in here, that knowing is different. That then there's a seeking within, and every little, I mean, you're just paying attention to every rib, every bone of the rib, every of the heart. You start noticing that blood isn't only pushing out, but it's taking it in. And it's this, just like, oh, it's doing the same thing as my lungs. Oh, it's doing the same thing as the blood is flowing from the tips of my toes and going up. And it's just this natural process of the waves that I was speaking about. So when you go into meditation without that expectation of, I want to be better at this or better at that, yeah, that could be a natural byproduct of going into this. But when you really go into it for this, let's just see. Whatever arises. And there's no holding on to what could arise, what couldn't arise, what may happen, what might not happen. But you just allow it. And there's this complete different state of consciousness that just you get vacuumed into.
So the cool thing is now we have the same age, because I'm 27 since a couple of years, if someone asks. So it's my favorite age.
Yeah. It's been a beautiful experience.
Mm.
Just allowing. We have this full moon coming up. It's going to be a fun one for a lot of people.
Yeah. Full moon in Pisces. Or in Aries. It's in Aries, I think. Yeah.
Is it?
No, it's in Pisces. It's the last full moon in Pisces. Yeah. Like Kabalistically. For all others, it's the full moon in Pisces. In Kabalistic astrology, they had two. Because they're calculating they're like the moon circle is like 29 something days. So every 30 months, they have to do a double Pisces, so it's correct again. Which is true. Like, that makes sense from a calculation point of view. So they do a double Pisces every couple of years.
Mm.
And we had the double Pisces just now going on. So it's the second full moon in Pisces.
So the Kabbalistic astrology, it stems from the Kabbalah.
Yes, it stems from the Kabbalah. It has like Matt could tell us more about it, but so it's over 5,000 years old. And what I really like about it is Western astrology has the tendency to think that your birth chart is something you cannot change. And the Kabbalistic astrology, as well as there's one type of modern astrology that is also like allowing that. Let me quickly check what's the name. Evolutionary astrology as well. What they're doing is when they're reading the chart, they're like, these are your key points to enlightenment or to like evolution of the soul. This is what the soul shows as a path of evolution to, and if you master that, and if you're like, what they say is like, it's almost like in Kabbalistic astrology is like, this is your tikkun. Your tikkun is like your soul's job to do in this lifetime, and this is something you have to work on. And but you can work on. It's not like this is this is what you will always have in your life. Like, you cannot change that. And I think in the Western astrology, like, it's really fascinating. I'm having a really specific, like, my chart seems to be very terrible. And so, like, in some areas, it's like, oh my God. Like, every Western astrologer is like, when they see my chart, they're like, oh my God. Oh yeah, you have your Chiron like opposite of your sun. That's really terrible. Like, you will, like, and then I'm like, I know it was terrible for a good 20 years, but it's not anymore. So you can really work through through this karma. And when I talk to Western astrologers, or when I did, like, or when I talk to an evolutionary astrologer, or the mat, or like a Kabalistic astrologer, they look at my chart and they're like, where are you with this? Like, what point of evolution are you? Like, do you still work on that, or like, did you clear it already? Like, where are you on this? And I think that's a really interesting approach, no?
Yeah. I've known some Western astrologers that are like that as well. They
Mm,
use the Western astrology and kind of how you were explaining the evolutionary astrologists and the Kabbalistic astrologists use. I think it all depends on where they're getting their information, if they're
yeah,
taking everything as face value. Because you have some people who are very analytical. So they'll read the chart and they'll be like, okay, this is exactly what it is, and that's it.
yeah,
And then you have others who are like, no, this isn't just it. They bring an intuitive approach. They bring an experiential approach. They bring, as the yogis talk about, the mental body, the emotional body, all the bodies. So there's a lot of it really depends. I will say that more mainstream, they are more analytical because it's more um, spirituality. So yeah, I think it is definitely a more important approach to go at it the way that you've experienced with the Kabbalistic um, astrologist and the evolutionary astrologist. I think bringing in more than just one view and just taking everything as face value is very important.
yeah. And I think, um, I think the main difference also is the Western astrology. People that are working with Western astrology, they're very often grew up in an Abrahamic religion where God is outside of you.
Mm,
And with the Kabbalistic astrology, the main difference also there is, like, God is within
mm,
and you are within. And, like, the whole approach is a completely different one. It's like the goal set is a different one.
mm.
So
Well, it's like with Jesus, he even told people, at first, it's also a marketing ploy depending on the religion, right? Because at first Jesus was saying, "Oh, follow me," the kingdom of heaven, and then he changed it was the kingdom of, actually the kingdom of heaven is within, because he
mm,
even said it, and then they killed him. Like, you ain't gonna tell me that. You're not
yeah,
gonna tell me it's within me. Are you crazy? Well, this is the thing: is there's this need to it's like I was speaking about that seeking. The seeking is always outside, but when you're able to put it within, then everything changes. So when you put that God outside of you, you're seeking God outside of you. When that seeking is really supposed to go within, that's why the seeking's there. That's why we have these desires. That's why we have these different things. It's always an internal game.
and it's the same, like, when the seeking of God is outside of you, there's also the this whole society in the Western world where more is more always. And you have to, like, get the better car, get the better TV, get the new house, like, like, this tendency to consume. what that shows as well is like there is there that's coming from a point of emptiness, of lack. And it's like I was addicted to shopping when I was 20, like until like 27, 28, 29. I was addicted to new clothes, better handbags, nicer shoes. Like I loved it. And I consumed so much, you know, even though I was very spiritual at that time. But I lived that life, and I understand that, because there is a point of emptiness within, that this endorphin kick at least lets you feel alive, you know. And but that's all of that is seeking outside of you and not understanding deeply how to go inside. And that's why I think Dennis and I, we always have this pre-talk, and he said, you know, I found out in my meditation that I don't even need to meditate. And but like that's why it's such a good start to meditate, because when everything you know is is coming from the outside, just to close your eyes, like to close that sensation, like just to sit there for 15 minutes with closed eyes. Like it's for most people impossible. The eyes want to open all the time because it's a reflex. It's like they have, like in the beginning of my meditations, I had to put a band on my eyes so that they wouldn't open automatically, because subconsciously it always wanted to open. Like they always wanted to control also. And that's so fascinating. And that's why, yeah, you can do meditation. You don't have to actually, but you could, because it's the other thing of what you are used to do. You know, it's the other spectrum. And since we're not sitting in the within very often, just like that, like for most of the people, it's not common to walk around planet Earth and to be present within, even with open eyes. Like you can meditate, like you can do everything with open eyes. It's the same if you have reached an like,
Understanding.
yeah, an understanding. And then and then you can also not meditate because it doesn't matter anymore. But I think to shut out certain kind of senses, and especially for us in the Western world, and like for every human being, the eyes and the kinesthetic sense are the most popular senses. Like every person on this planet arrives with a preference of sense. That's when I work as a therapist, you know, when I work with my clients, like you can even hear that. That's why NLP is so, a neuro-linguistical programmation is so interesting, because you can even hear with the verbs people are choosing to describe something, you know what their preference sense is. And that's not good or bad, but shutting out one of the senses, like closing your eyes, helps tremendously to let loose of the control of the out, like of this, you know, holding on to control and seeking in the outside is a subconscious pattern. And when you close your eyes and you sit in meditation, or you can just sit and close your eyes, what you're doing with that is you're allowing your subconscious addiction, or at least pattern, to show up. Like, And that's why people are get like so attacked by their mind, like when they're like, I know a lot of people, they're like, I cannot meditate. Like if I close my eyes, my brain's going, my thoughts are going nuts. Like they're like, oh my god, what are you doing, rah, 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 and you are not da, 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 da. And like, and when you do that, when you just close your eyes and you just sit there, like everything you experience then is your subconscious landscape. That's like everything that wants to be heard, everything that wants to show, everything that wants to be present, everything that wants to arise, everything that wants, like that's like, and when you never close your eyes consciously, like you have a shit ton of things that want to be shown. Like that's what it is. And just so start to like do it for 2 minutes, like shut the eyes for 2 minutes, and then whenever you have a moment, like just close your eyes. And if you think that's creepy, that's also your subconscious pattern. that that's also something subconscious. Sadhguru is sitting awake for like 6 to 12 hours a day with closed eyes. He just sits there. He's like, you just close your eyes. Like, do it for like 3 hours. You're good. I'm like, 3 hours? Wait a second. How do you mean 3 hours?
I'm about an hour and a half in.
Yeah. So like, that's very, very cool and fun. And then like a whole world opens up. You know, when you close your eyes, your inner reality starts to open up. And I know it's difficult in the beginning because everything that wants to be seen is so like the inner, the thoughts, the emotions, the situations that you lived through, the different options you have for a certain situation. Like there's so many things that never have had the ability to really be seen, and that's all they want. Like all it wants is to be to get attention. And like in the beginning, I don't know, when you start to meditate in the beginning, like I remember like 15, even more, a couple of years ago, I'm still 27, so a couple of years ago when I started meditating, like I remember like how present the things were in my body, like in my mind. I could hear the thoughts. I could, it was, everything was so close, you know. It was very, very dense. Dense is probably a good word. And then with practice, and it's like a muscle. It's like you don't go to the gym and think you can lift 200 pounds on your first day. Is that even possible to lift 200 pounds? I don't know. Or 100 pounds.
It's possible.
Okay. So you don't think you can, or you don't start jogging and you think you can run a marathon that day, right? That's not what people think. But with meditation, they think like, okay, I'm starting meditating, and then it's complicated. And they're like, oh no, I'm not doing it anymore. Well, it's a muscle, honey. Like that's not, like, you need some training. Like this is not something that's just like easy like that. But like for all the people that I know, my tip on, like, if you start to meditate, my tip is put on a meditation overnight, a YouTube meditation. Like what I did when I was like 24, 20 something, or 25, I went on YouTube and I put on Muji, Baba Muji meditations. He had this very long meditation where he explained to you that you are not the mind, and you are the one who is the one seeing what you're thinking and yada yada, like all this consciousness talk. And I put that on every night before like when I went to bed, I put it on. I laid in bed and I was just laying there like, and I just listened to that and let that sink into my subconscious landscape. And with the time when I then meditated during the day, what happened was the thoughts and the picture for I'm very visual, so the pictures that are coming up and the smell and the sounds started to be way further away from me. I had more space, more spaciousness within me, you know. It was not like years, it was like out there somewhere, like when something occurred. So maybe that's a tip. I liked that. It helped me a lot to create space within me.
When you brought up that you had blindfold yourself when you first started, and I thought that was funny. So what's happening, and we talk about, the eyes constantly, wanting to open and look around and go to the next thing. It's it just kind of shows you how who's protecting.
You were cutting off. I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
Am I clear now?
Yeah.
It shows how entangled we are with the survival process.
Yes. Very
Because
much.
who's going to protect? Oh, open your eyes.
Yeah.
Oh. So the more you realize that you distance yourself from the survival process, that doesn't mean that the survival process isn't there, but you space yourself from the identity of the survival process, which the survival process has many processes within it. Then you're starting to experience that spaciousness. Now, what is that dimension after the survival process?
It's funny. I still like there's some Kundalini Yoga meditations. When I do them for 31 or 62 minutes, I still have to do that. Even though like I'm holding spaciousness right now with my open eyes, like when I my physical body is really, there is a huge the nervous system, there's still like a very old pattern which doesn't trust that it's safe. But I still do that. Like for me, it's so much easier. Like I have a headband, like a very normal headband. And when I'm going into chanting meditations, for example, for a mantra chanting for like 62 minutes, then I'm still doing that because for it takes away it supports my body to really let go of the control and to let the mantra flow through it more like without control. Like maybe that's a good explanation.
Let me ask a question.
Mm.
Do you think that thing is that headband, when you first started doing it, that you actually created a habit, and that's what doesn't want to be let go?
It's I don't think so, because I never did it. That was just a tip because I only had that when I never started meditating like that. I only did that for the very long mantra chantings when I wanted to have my eyes closed, like when I really wanted to shut, like for my body, like having also when I have to, for example, when I have to work. If you think that this is a cat, it is a cat. And the cat thinks she's dying because she's not having food, but she got food. Like, and for example, at work, I really had so many issues to concentrate at the time where I used to work, in compliance, and when I used to work in companies. For me, it was very difficult to concentrate because they're so, like, I'm very sensitive. and there are so many people and so many agendas and so many things you could feel, like, ugh, it was terrible for me. So what I learned is whenever I shut down one sense, and so I couldn't sit there with my closed eyes, that didn't work. But what I did was I put in some ear plugs, like, and then I listened to piano music, so I could shut that thing down with piano music, so I could focus more. Like that was a possibility, but because I had to have it very close, I couldn't just listen to music like that. That wouldn't be enough. I needed to really shut down all other things. So for me, I think that's where I created the habit. It's not with the band over the eyes, because I never did that, but I created a habit in shutting down one of the senses in order to be able to relax my body. It relaxes my body when one of the senses is not active. Like for me, it would be the easiest, like when I'm chanting mantra, for me, it would be like probably one of the best experiences when I would have a band over my eyes and the mantra in my ears. Then I would be like, I never did that, but maybe I'll try it one day. Like, but that was like, for me, like when you're so oversensitive and have that ADHD, oh, he's gone. Let's see. When you're having that ADHD brain, then yeah. I would love to know, like, how do you guys experience that? Like, what do you guys experience in your own practice, like your own meditation practice? Like, have you, or at work also, like, how do you work? Like when you really need to concentrate, is that easy for you, or is it rather difficult? And like, has anyone experienced that as well, like I did? Like, I don't know. I don't even know if I'm having ADHD, to be very honest. I don't know, but I probably do, because concentration was always very difficult for me. Like when I was young, when I was like 20 something, it was very, very difficult for me to, I worked as a finance person for a long time, for like 10 years, and then compliance for like another 10. So for me, being able to concentrate with a lot of people around was very, very, like, it took me so much energy. It was like, I don't know, very difficult. So did you face that as well? And what do you do? Like, what's your go-to technique, or what's your go-to trick for that? I would love to know that. Like, because maybe maybe there are some tricks that we can help each other. But yeah, at the end of the day, everything, like, it comes to the fact that it's a subconscious thing. It's subconscious landscape that is made conscious in meditation. And I think it's the easiest to do that. I think Dennis is not coming back anymore. Probably his internet broke, but maybe he's coming back. So I would like to speak about addictions. I think when we're speaking about meditation and we're speaking about practice, I think it's really important also to speak about addictions. I said that when I was young, I had this shopping addiction and I loved everything outside of me. But addiction is like something really, really fascinating, because we cannot only be addicted to certain kind of foods or a certain type of drinks or cigarettes or alcohol, or what I think are the most dangerous addictions are, the addiction to be loved, the addiction for relationships, the addiction for confirmation. And those addictions are like creating very, very destructive behavior patterns. And I think that's like the very interesting part about it. Like for me, like I was addicted to help. There, I was almost like I had this addiction to help, and I wanted to help because I didn't feel that I was necessarily a human that was allowed to be on planet Earth if I didn't help. And so this whole addiction to help, the addiction to support, that was something that really like it almost created its own reality, its own life, you know. When you're done with helping someone, I had to create a new reality where I could help someone new, you know, where I could support someone new. and and that was like, then I met new people, and then I could help someone. Like it's almost like I had projects, people projects, to make them a better life, and then they were going. But in but it was subconscious. And because it was subconscious, what it meant is I thought that I lost friends. I thought that I was being left alone, and I thought that people are using me, and you know, all of that. But it was actually just my addiction to help in order to have a reason to be here on planet Earth. Or I used to smoke cigarettes, and I smoked cigarettes because I just what smoking does is, like, when you're inhaling, you're suppressing your emotions, because the lungs are there to transform your emotions. Oh, and so when you smoke, what you're doing is you're stressed, and then you're suppressing the stress, and you put the whole stress and the emotions and everything into your cells. And what that does is it's still there. it's it's not at the right place, so you're just suppressing things. And there is a time, of course, that makes totally sense to suppress emotions because you couldn't handle them. But let yeah, I think there is also a time where the emotions should be lived, and the older you grow, the more important that is. So yeah. And in like my first Kundalini meditation that I did daily was the addiction meditation. And what this addiction meditation does is it works in your subconscious landscape. It helps you to see the patterns of your addictions, and to bring those addictions up, and to really to work with them. So I think it's one of the most, like Yogi Bhajan said, this meditation won't be understood for the next 500 to 1,000 years, but then they start to understand what it really does. And what it does is, like, it's altering your subconscious landscape, but science will probably be able to understand that later, which is cool as well. So Dennis is not coming back, so I will be closing our beautiful podcast today. If you have questions, you can Google the addiction meditation. There's one on YouTube with Guru Jagat, or with me as well. And if you want to try something like that, that would be also a possibility to get rid of your addictions. And I hope you liked our talk, or mine at the end at least, as well. And I wish you a wonderful, beautiful day. Bye.